So as you gain credibility in an organization, you may be able to do different kinds of things that you couldn't have done before. And so off the back of the success of the Klingon pilot at Bing, I actually got to do something that became known as Bing in the Classroom. So the strategy was kids aren't searching as much in schools, whether on Bing or Google, as you would think they would. Schools are a place of curiosity, and you would think that kids would be searching and answering questions all the time, and you just didn't really see that in the data. So we know what we want. We want people we want specifically kids to start querying more at school, asking more curiosity-based questions to Bing. When we started investigating this, again, this is one where the always never categories, we could look at schools where we saw more or less searches. And it turned out that it was really not about promoting pressure. It wasn't about kids' sense of curiosity. There were some people who had a hypothesis that, hey, this was going to be about kids not being curious enough. We need to prompt kids to ask questions. And it turns out, as any parent knows, kids have tons of questions. They're very curious. And so instead, it was about making it easy to do. And it really actually wasn't about the kids. It was about the teachers, because teachers controlled access to technology at the time. This was before every kid had a laptop. The teachers were the ones who said whether kids could be using technology in the classroom. And they had strong inhibiting pressure concerns like privacy and safety. And so we started trying to see what we could do there. And we identified 3 really strong inhibiting pressures. One was around what we call adult leakage. So adult leakage is not explicit adult searches. It's instead a kid saying girl on a bike, and instead of getting a little girl on a tricycle, he gets, a bikini model on a motorcycle, right? Not explicitly an adult search, but he's getting back content that maybe is not appropriate in the context. And so we need to do something there. Then there's a strong inhibiting pressure that is, I don't know exactly what data they're collecting about kids, but I know schools are kind of the data conscious place. And I, as a teacher, am a little bit nervous about identifying kids. There's this privacy aspect. And again, this was a very vague sort of inhibiting pressure. It was an emotional inhibiting pressure, not a logical one. So there were lots of suggestions about, well, how do we just make it more private? But this is really about changing the perception of privacy, right? And helping people understand what was actually happening. And the final one was advertising. Search is ad supported. There are sponsored ads, sponsored results, and that's how they make money. But in general, schools are advertising free zones. They're not giant billboards. There's not a lot of ads running around in schools, right? And so, we need to be sensitive about that. And so what we came up with was an offering that explicitly targeted those 3 inhibiting pressures. On the safety side, we would turn on safe search at an IP level, right? So for all of the searches coming out of a school, rather than in the individual kid, we would put on safe search. This was really great for teachers because it wasn't just a setting that they had to worry about. It was something that happened kind of blanket across everything. They could worry less. In the same vein, on a privacy thing, we still had to collect some data because some of it's really useful for search. For example, combinatorial search, right? So you search for thing A, then you search for thing B, and we know that because you search for thing A, you probably mean this kind of B and not that kind of B, right? So we can start to infer things between things. Search history is a thing that kids are going to want, right? They're going to be able to move between searches. So there are features that require some data collection. But what we did was minimize data collection. And again, for both of these, we actually already had these engineered. Because of Bing's ability to operate in multiple countries, we already had flags for safe search. We already had flags for privacy because of the differing laws in different countries. We just need to activate them on an IP level so that a whole school could have those applied to their searches and that we could make teachers aware of what was happening. And then finally, we just removed advertising. So we made a business decision to go ahead and turn on a flag that just took out all the sponsored results, took out those ads, so they just got pure search results. And again, we did this at an IAP level, so it was very easy for an administrator to turn on. Because here you have a multi-stakeholder thing. I need administrators to feel confident and comfortable to turn this on for their school. I need teachers to be willing to let kids do this thing. There's a bunch of different people. I have to get the superintendent or someone at the district level to say that, hey, schools within their district can do this. And so there was a ton. This was a very, very long project, about a year long, because we had to change behavior across multiple people. So there wasn't just one behavioral statement. There was a lot of linked behavioral statements for different audiences. Hey, I need administrators to do this and superintendents to do that and CTOs to do this and all of the different stakeholders, teachers to do this, kids to do this, all of these different things. Now, it wasn't just inhibiting pressure-based. We did do some promoting pressure-based interventions. One of the things we did, for example, is one of the distinctive features of Bing is this beautiful full-page editorialized with some facts embedded home screen picture from around the world. And so we started creating lesson plans, little 5-minute lesson plans, not, I'm going to take up the whole class. We wanted something quick and easy and light with feedback from teachers. This is what they wanted. So we just had little daily oral language. We had daily search sort of skill lessons that they could use, where we gave kids a challenge. Hey, here's a beautiful picture from the homepage of the day. Here's a lighthouse. How might we estimate the number of steps in this lighthouse? And then we get them to make different kinds of searches like, hey, what's the average tread height of a stair? And different kinds of things like that. And so we had these teacher-produced daily search lessons. So they created a new reason to search. So we reduced all these inhibiting pressures, created a new promoting pressure. And again, this was very, very successful. We saw double-digit increases, not only in schools, but interestingly, you actually saw kids searching more at home when they learned those skills at school. When they felt safer in the school context, they carried that over into the home. So again, really big business impact for us. As a matter of fact, it made such a big impact that Google was forced to follow in our footsteps. Because we saw such great gains there, they then removed advertising. They then started doing these things because Bing had set the tone. And so anytime you see your competitors responding to your behavior changes, that's a good sign that something's going well.